So in this video I will be continuing with array of objects one more time with one more example. So I have taken products example last time, and here I am taking one more example and I am explaining the same concept called array of objects to get a better understanding of the concept. So what I am doing right now is I am going ahead and creating a new file called as employee.js. So inside data types I am creating one more file called as employee.js. So I am creating a variable called as employee whose value is an array. Since we are dealing with array of objects, the basic or the prime data type remains to be an array, right? So here the value is an array, and as you can see we have opening and closing square brackets here. So inside that we have 4 objects like in last case, and here the data we are dealing is with the employee data. So I'm creating 4 objects here, and each object has properties called as name and department. Okay, so I'm taking some random names and departments. Department is, let's say I'm saying sales. Similarly we have name, and department. Marketing, similarly I'm doing for 2 more values. So don't worry, I'm creating 5 objects inside the array. So yeah, I have 5 objects and I'm changing the names. So this is how my array of objects looks like here. So it is basically the prime object, the prime data type is an array, and it have 5 objects inside it, which consists of similar properties. All the 5 objects have similar properties called as name and department. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to display all the employees that belongs to the sales department. So I want the list of employees that belongs to the sales department here. So we apply filters, right, for each and every product, or in Amazon we apply filters like the price range below 10,000 or the price range below 20,000 or 5-star rating products. So we will do like apply filtering, right? So how does the filter works? So let's see here. So now what I want to do is I want to display all the employees that belongs to the sales department only. So when I say console.log employees in sales department, so the way I do that is I want to display the names of the people who belongs to the sales department. So this is the heading, don't worry about that, or don't think what is it. So it is just the heading of the output file that we are going to execute. So what I will do is I have employees, right? I have employees is an array, and we have seen, since we have seen previously, if I have an array and I can access each element in that array via its index. We have 3 choices. We can do it via its index, we can use for loop, or we can either use for each method. So we have 3 choices, and since here 5 objects inside it, we cannot use our index. So we cannot go via index method or index level. It is very difficult to access because the number is huge here. We have to write 10 lines of code, which is like tiresome. So we don't do that anymore. So we try to access via for loop or for each method. Okay, so let's start with for loop again. So as always I am taking both the approaches. First time I am taking for loop. Remember the syntax of for loop, right? It goes something like this: for where I is equal to 0, I is less than employees dot length I plus plus. So now I have access to each element in that array. I will just go ahead and see the basic thing. So what is the basic thing? I just want to print all the employees first. Don't worry about what department is it or what is the name of the employee. Don't worry for that now. So just check what is the output. So I'm just opening my terminal, going inside data types and node employee.js. So sorry, this is employees, it's not employee. I'm saving it and executing this piece of code. I'm clearing it and doing it again. So you can see, right, all the objects or all the employees are printed individually. So the looping is happening over entire array of objects, and each employee details are printed individually here. So it is saying employees, so we need only employees in sales department, right? So how to do that? So while I loop that particular array, I need to add something called as conditional check. Okay, so when I loop over that particular array, it is saying I get each object, I will get access to each object in that particular array, right? So now I don't want to display all the departments, so I don't want sales, marketing, HR, all these at once, but I want only sales department. So in that case we have, sales department means we have Ravi, we have Hitesh, and the last name I forgot to change. So let's say something called as Revant. So we have what are the employees in sales department? We have Ravi, we have Hitesh, and we have Revant. So we just want all these three employee names who belongs to the sales department. So let's see how it works. So as you can see, I have a reference to this particular object called as department here. So if you see inside employees, while I am looping, I have access to this particular object called as department, right? So that is what I am doing now. So you are learning something new here. I can do something called as some kind of conditional check here. I can now say while I am iterating, when I get each object, I will look at the property called as department. So I will loop over each and every object, and I will look for the property called as department, and if it is equal to sales, we will be printing that particular employee name. If it is not equal to sales, we are not printing that employee name. So only if it is equal to sales, we are printing that employee name. So how we are doing that? So I'm writing the condition, that condition, whether the property is equal to sales or not. So if it is true, only then I will go and display the name of that particular product. So looping is same, looping does not change, but I am removing this since we will be applying condition check here. So for where I is equal to 0, I is less than employees dot length, I plus plus does not change, that is same. But here inside what I do is I use if condition. You will learn about it in future. Here just observe the syntax of it and how it is working, but do not want to know about it right now. Just see how it is working. Okay, so I will say employees of I, and I have access to department property, right? Department is equal to sales. So here employees of I, as you can see, it returns each object, and on that there is a property called as department, and we are trying to access that department using dot operator, for which I am using condition check. Here the condition is triple equals to, meaning strict equality to sales. What is triple equals to and what is double equals to, I'll say in later classes. For now, just check that we are matching this condition to sales. Okay, equal to sales, and then I'm using triple equals to, on the other side I'm writing sales. So more about condition checks you will see in next class. For now, remember, department is a property and value is a sales. Okay, here department is a property of that particular object, and whose value is sales. Okay, which is a string. Here sales is a string, no doubt, right? So within if condition, on the new line I'm saying console.log. So if condition will have opening and closing floor brackets, and inside that I am writing console.log employees. So I am printing employees of I dot name. So whose department is matched with sales, we are printing those employee names. Okay, so I will save this file. I'm clearing this terminal for now and executing this piece of code. Clear command is used to clear the terminal. Okay, I will show it again one more time. Node employee dot chase. So it is printing employees in sales department, Ravi, Hitesh, and Revant. You got the point, right? So after executing this code, it is saying all the three names that belongs to the sales department. How interesting is this? So let's look at the solution. If you are the same solution, if you are working with for each method. Before looking at for each method, let's look at HR department. I'm saying HR department here, and I'm saying HR department. So here you can observe, right, one thing, that is, this is like a learning for both of us. So the syntax of the string should be the same. It should be either capital letters or small letters. If it is like this, how the casing should match. Okay, simply if it is in uppercase here, it has to be uppercase here as well. That is very very important when it comes to condition check. Okay, so now execute this piece of code. You can see that 2 is there in HR department. Let's see for marketing department. I'm saving this, executing this. You can see, right, Hitesh is there from marketing department. But previously we have stick to sales, right? So we are printing only sales department for now. So if we want to clear all these commands or all these logs, the command is clear. Okay, if you click it, all the previously executed files or the outputs will be cleared, and the terminal is clear now. Now I am executing this file again. So employees in sales department is Ravi, Hitesh and Revant. Now let's look at the same solution if we are using for each method. For each, this time around I am taking the for each approach. So for each is a method that can be called only over an array. So for each is a method which can be called only over array. So here the array is employees. It is an array, right? So we can call for each method over it. How to do that? So I have an employees array, right? So I will say employees dot for each. This is the syntax of for each. Now the argument for that particular for each method is an anonymous function which takes each employee as an argument again. So we have an argument which is an anonymous function for which we again pass each employee name. Here employee is, right, so we use employee here, and the syntax goes something like this. We have opening and closing flower brackets. So as we already know, this anonymous function inside for each method gets called every time for each element within the array. So here every element is this object, so each element is passed as argument to this particular function, or this function is called once for each element in the array. Since we have 5 elements in the array, this function gets called 5 times for this particular array called as employees. Okay, so more about for each method you will definitely see in level 1 of the course. This is just like introduction to for each method. Okay, so in this case it is called for 5 times, right, since we have 5 elements. Here employee is treated as each element, so every time it is getting iterated over the array of 5 employees, each employee is treated as employee here. Okay, or each object is treated as employee here. So I will say console.log of employee. So I'm just printing the basic thing first, and for convenience I'm just looping out this. I'm just ignoring this for loop code for now. I just want to print the for each code. So if you can see, all the employees or all the object data is printed here, and if we want only name here, employee.name, but that is not our requirement. We want employees in sales department. So I'm just deleting this line of code now. So you can see, so here employee is nothing but, so you just need to remember that inside for each method employee is nothing but, every time, but it is the in that particular array when we are iterating over the array by using for each method. So employee is nothing but each element. So for the first time it is Ravi, second time Hitesh, Rukesh, Hitesh and Revant, but we have access to name as well as department, right? So we will use condition check for the department, and we are going to print the name where the department is matched to sales. Okay, so let's see how it works. Now my aim is to do condition check, right? While when I am working with loops, if you remember, each element will be accessed via the index, but when I am using the for each method, each element is accessed or made available to us via the argument. Here the argument is employee. Okay, so here I am gonna say if employee dot, I will look for the property called as department here, whose value is equal to sales. Again strict equality 3 equals to and sales. The syntax is S is capital and remaining all are small letters. and we have opening and closing flower brackets. So this is the syntax of if condition check. So if this condition is true, if employee dot department is equal to sales, so what do we want? We want to print the employee names, right? So employee dot name, that's it, as simple as that. So it will display all the names of employees which belongs to sales department. So I am executing this piece of code. It is going ahead and telling us employees in sales department is Ravi, Hitesh and Revant. Okay, I hope it is clear. So now how about I display the employees of HR department? So I have to change the department in condition, if condition, HR here as well as here. Just check that notation, it is both are capital letters, right? So yeah, so it is printing only the HR. So similarly we are checking for marketing department. This is how basically filter mechanism works in any of the e-commerce stores or any of the websites. So Hitesh is getting printed. So keep in mind, when I am doing equality check here, the string should be in the same case as it is, how it is. So if it is in caps, it should be in caps here also. So if it is in small, if it is in it should be in small. If I am keeping as sales, I am coming ahead and going to sales now. So sales is here, S is capital and R are small, right? We have to use the same thing, not exactly here, but in the if conditional check here, sales. If we miss that, let's see what happens. I'm not giving the correct casing. Let's see, it is not printing any employees within the sales department, so we have to give the exact casing. So it is a learning. Okay, so it is printing employees in sales department. The output looks as it is, like how it is in for loop. For each method also gives us the same output. Okay, so let's also have this particular statement, like employees in sales department, it is changed, right? So we have all these employees in sales department. So one is employees in sales department, and so enough. What I'm doing is I'm trying to keep this as sales department, and now I'm trying to keep this as HR department. I'm again re-ignoring this and making it functional. So here I'm matching it with HR department, HR. So just check how it works. So we have employees in sales department, Ravi, Hitesh and Revant, and we have employees in HR department, who is Rakesh. Okay, how cool is this? So I hope you will be getting more comfortable while you are working with array of objects in future, but for now this is it. So you have seen like how to work with array of objects with two different examples, and you have seen the use cases of them, and you also have seen them how to loop over them by using for loop, as well as for each method. We also checked how to work with condition checks now. So how cool is this? We have learned a lot of things while working with array of objects, right? So that's it for the day. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.